Hello, my dear friends. Today I wanted to speak about manipulations again. By the way, how's your Christmas preparations are going? Because I didn't really do anything. I have a tree. However, I didn't decorate it yet. I was kind of lazy. So instead, I'm gonna make you this video, and I think it's the most fundamental knowledge that you have to obtain to change your perspective. Because if we're changing our perspective, we're gonna change our life. And first of all, I wanted to speak about manipulations, not like about something negative, but we have to speak about it like about something neutral. And like I said earlier in my video, we have to learn how other people manipulate. We have to be able to manipulate ourselves, and we have to actually be conscious about what's going on around us. And this way you can protect yourself. So first of all, start demonizing all these manipulators, because like I said earlier, just because sometimes we appear in weak, people tend to take advantage of us. But if we actually change our behavior, and instead of just running to mama and complaining that this person is manipulating me, yes, and she's gonna take the tissue and like wipe your little face, those little tears. Maybe she'll give you a pacifier, or maybe her own tit. It can also happen. Maybe it can give you some relief. But instead of that, be grown up and stop acting like a victim. Stop. You can pretend like you are the one, but stop acting like you're a victim. Actually take responsibility and become conscious. So manipulation, it's something neutral, and manipulation is everywhere. I used to have a salon, and I had this client who was a huge boxer man. He was like 6 feet tall, and he would come to my place regularly with a little girl, and she was like running around the chair, and she's like, daddy, you're so handsome. And you could see he's like a very masculine face. It just starts melting, and he has this like a silly smile, and she's like, let's get the lollipop. So if she was like kind of annoyingly like, daddy, give me lollipop, something like this, he would be just annoyed. But instead, she's just acting like I would say almost an adult woman, because she's like praising him. He tells him how good looking he is, and while he's in this like a positive trance, she's asking for what she wants. Obviously, she has a good role model, her mom, and she knows how to get what she wants. And probably after they got the lollipop, she would kiss him on the cheek, and you would see that this guy is just like a hooked, and her dad is hers forever. And I find it even kind of sweet when women are doing this, or kids. They know how to influence someone in a very subtle, soft way. And do you think guys don't realize that they kind of getting slightly manipulated? Of course they do realize it, but they actually like it because it gives them emotion. And right now this subject of narcissism is so huge, and everyone is accusing them, oh, they are so bad, they like, however, people falling for them. And why they falling for them? They falling for them because they are charming. They know what buttons to like push, what kind of emotions to make you feel. So this is actually the secret of their success, and this is what makes them super attractive. Psychopath, sociopath, they know what to do. By the way, my brother was kind of like this. He was like, I think, slightly sociopathic, super popular dude. And since the early childhood, he would manipulate my mom all the way. And even now, she's like in her 60s, and it's the same story. And I'm like, mom, you're gonna be like what, 63 soon? Like, didn't you learn it? What he was doing? So he was like let's say he wants a candy, and my mom would give him a candy, and he would go like hide it in a pillowcase somewhere, and then he comes and say like, oh, Rufina took my candy, you know, and my mom would give him another candy, and sometimes she would figure out, and she's like, I'm not giving you anything. He would just cry, annoy her, follow her everywhere, and then you know what he does? He would be like, all right, I'm upset with you, I'm not talking to you, and just runs away. And then my mom is actually the one who is following him with this like a just to make him to get this candy from her. So this is how my brother was doing. So, and when we understand the mechanism, how it works, we can get things easier, and we can actually, the most important thing, detect what exactly this person is doing at this exact moment with me, with you. So it's super, super important. Just open your eyes, like what do they call, smoke and mirrors? Yeah, get this like a cloth and just wipe your smoke from the mirror, because probably your pink glasses got a little bit dusty. So if someone lies to us multiple times, if it's a system, it means that we have this inner desire of being manipulated, because it tastes so good, right? It tastes so good when someone is like telling that they're gonna get us this, they're gonna get us that they love us and stuff like this, and then they disappear like a smoke. Like I have clients like this that would come to me and say like, well, I thought we're in a relationship, and this guy is like saying like, oh, you're a princess of my heart, you're and we're doing like, we're going for skiing together, then we come back and so he says, oh, I love you, and then he disappears. And it's not happening once. It can, of course it can happen to everyone, but when it happens once, twice, 3 times, it means you allowing the manipulator actually work on you, and you are the most responsible person in this process. So yeah, stop, like be honest, like I said before, and just stop like going alone. If you want to keep your self-respect, if you want to keep your confidence pretty high, so stop just going being a part of this shitty scenario. So what are main manipulations? Of course, especially if we're talking about narcissists and some sociopathic people, they would be kind of sweeping off of our feet and telling us like, oh my gosh, you are the best man in my life. Oh my gosh, no one made me feel this way in the bed before. Something like this. And you are a gentleman, and you are generous, and you are like everything in my life. And then the next morning they say like, well, you're a great dude, however, you kind of like, I wish you kind of higher, taller a little bit. I wish you taller. I like tall guys. And since you connected your confidence to this person, since you don't have this inner independence, your confidence starts shaking, because on yesterday she told you one thing, and today she would tell you the opposite. And your heart is like pumping, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not tall enough. I have to go and get a surgery and like make my legs longer a little bit just to make you feel good. Something like this. Obviously right now exaggerating, but this is absolutely true. I'm just collecting my experience from my clients. So when you always relying on another person to give you this appreciation, this approval, you basically take the remote of your own self, your soul, your mind, and you give that remote to that one person. That's why in the previous video I actually was telling you, be independent and always have your own independent self-esteem and spine. The good thing about it, even if you felt that you kind of very dependent on the person, and this person specifically makes you feel good or bad, as soon as you understand that she's manipulating you or he's manipulating you, you start growing. And then in the next time when you actually able to protect yourself and kind of step back and let this person know that you actually aware of this, like a bad stuff going on, your self-esteem will be firmer, your spine will be thicker, and you will get your self-confidence again. But you always have to be doing same exact thing. If this person is trying to take advantage of you, step back. Like, always demonstrate that self-respect. Like I said earlier, you cannot be just a paranoid person and cut off all the social connections, but try to set your own boundaries. If this person treated you bad, for example, didn't show up for the date, like didn't treat you right, you always have a choice to tell them what's going on and how you feel about it and see how they're gonna react. Or you can just distance yourself physically and emotionally, which is kind of not always easy. However, you are showing to yourself, first of all, that I respect my time, I respect my own persona. And this is how your self-esteem is becoming that firm. It's going higher and higher, because that's what narcissists do. They praise in you one day, and the next day they kind of like taking that little, like, I don't know, piece of dirt and just put it right on your face, like whoosh. And if you're just smiling back, like, you're gonna be all dirty eventually, right? We don't want that. So what else I have? So there was, like, I was talking appreciation, depreciation, and now let's speak about fear. If you always feel that this person like putting you in this anxious state, and you are normally overall person, you're not depressed, you have quite stable self-esteem, but you feel like they want to make you feel fearful, like maybe afraid of something, this is also manipulation. And we experiencing this negative emotions, which is also great, because negative emotions are actually they guarding us from something bad. So do not ignore it. And if you are this type of person who didn't watch my first video about manipulation, you have to go back to this and check it out. So if you feel some type of like I don't know, you want to throw up, or your heart is pumping, or your stomach is kind of like shivering or something like this, everyone is different. Because I'm me particularly, I just start like being sweaty and I'm like out of breath, and I know that something is going wrong. And sometimes it doesn't have to be that strong, obviously. It's not like it doesn't mean that you have to puke under any like a discomfort, but you know, people use this like a kind of fears, your own fears against you. When I was like maybe in my early 20s, I would go to this esthetician, and she was an experienced woman. I wouldn't say that she was bad, but she would say something like, oh, you gotta do this like whatever injection, because later on your face will just like a fall, and you're gonna look wrinkled like a witch and stuff like this. And at first I was like kind of like, okay, whatever. And then she would do it again and again and again, and I always come after her with this like a feeling that she's like trying to scare me. Why she was doing it? Because she wanted to sell. Maybe she was doing it even like kind of without even knowing that she's doing like this weird stuff. But however, I just stopped seeing her because I want to see someone who would tell me something positive. So yeah, if you like in this type of relationship, when that person always puts you like in this anxious state that you're afraid that they're gonna leave or something like this, yeah, just step back a little bit and talk to yourself. Why am I so afraid? What's wrong in the relationship? Yeah, so it's super, super important to be connected to yourself. Oops. Okay, something is going wrong. I think my phone is dying on me. So what another thing is that manipulators are using? It's a shame and guilting, you know. Oh, you never call me. And sometimes I see the girls actually manipulating guys, like they actually annoying them with like blaming them. They don't call them, they don't giving them any gifts, and the guy is doing it but kind of like because she forced him, and later on they just run away from them. And it works for people, especially if they having this like complex of being guilty. They guilty like that they living a better life than some other people. They guilty when they feel that someone is hurt next to them, even though they were not the reason of this pain. So, and sometimes they end up in the relationship when the other person is always like guilting them. You're not buying me enough of gifts, you're not like calling me, you don't give me enough of attention. So it's kind of like manipulation, for sure. Or like you can check out our TV, and sometimes you could see this advertising. It's like a kittens crying or some like a third world countries, and they like would send you something like this. Oh, you can send the money for blah 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 blah, this organization. And yes, it makes you feel terrible looking at these people. So this is how marketing is using shame and guilt in their manipulations. And you don't even know where this money goes, right? It's better to help someone who is like sitting on the street and didn't have lunch, but to send money to someone and you don't know what's gonna happen with your donation, it just doesn't make sense for me. Another thing that people can use against you, it works like, especially if you're a powerful person. And sometimes I deal with my clients who are like successful people, like a super strong woman. She's powerful, she's definitely has like this big hard balls and stuff like this, and she can like solve the problem very easily. And they usually become victims of these guys like gigolos, and basically those guys who are living off women. And how those guys operate, they would come to them and whatever, they have great sex. Usually those guys they look good and stuff like this, and they kind of easy breezy, they very like a playful, they like some silly idiots. They can, and in front like next to this guy, the woman feels like she's a freaking queen, because this guy is just like some whatever personal trainer maybe, he's not even close to her financially, and she feels even more powerful next to him. And these guys, they know how to do it, because they would say something like this, like, oh, you're such a strong woman, and gradually they kind of influencing her to invest into him, because he's just a poor guy, and you're such a wonderful like a goddess, and I'm just like a whatever dust on your shoes or something like this. And she's like, oh, I feel so bad for this guy, but all right, I'm just gonna buy you that Bentley. What else can I do? I'm a strong woman, and he's just a weak dude, like something like this. If you see someone who is always like kind of crushing next to you and like praising you, just be very careful, because you don't know who you're gonna deal with. And like I said in my previous video, you have to open up gradually and consciously towards something wonderful. Another manipulation that people use, it's using the passive aggression. It's when people say one thing to you, actually maybe something positive, but you could feel that the intonation is not great. And for example, you were, as a man, telling your girlfriend like, oh, on Friday I'm just gonna go see my boys and whatever, we're gonna go to the bar, maybe we're gonna fish the next day or something like this. And she's like, all right. And you're like, well, if you want, you can go with us, and if it makes you so upset, I'm just gonna stay home. But no, she's like taking this, she's making her choice of being like this, being this passive aggressive. And it's quite like destructive for the relationship. And it seems to me that a lot of people just choose in this way because they were raised this way, and probably their mom was behaving the same way, or maybe their dad. So why am I telling you guys? If you are dealing with some like person that you just found out their reputation is horrible, that they take advantage of people, of course you have to leave them ASAP, or at least like get distance and see what's gonna happen. But however, we manipulate all the time. I manipulate you guys right now, probably in a certain way. I could say like, oh, please guys, I have just 3 subscribers, can you please like support me? So it's kind of manipulation, correct? So what are we doing with our closest people, with the people who we love? Because we are all kind of being traumatized before. Sometimes we don't even know the better way how to behave. And only the most brave people, only the healthiest people, I'm talking about mentally, can actually come up and say like, you know what, I don't really like that, I don't know, we don't go out so often. It's like, is there any problem? Let's maybe discuss it. What I'm doing right now, I'm actually encouraging the other person to discuss it. And I'm not showing like some type of attitude. I'm actually telling them about my feelings, that yes, it makes me you know, a little bit upset when you like whatever flirting with someone else, and would you please blah 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 blah. So this way I'm showing my vulnerability, and I'm saying it directly. But some people don't know any better how they just want to do this crazy stuff like passive aggression. They get upset, they like behaving like kids a little bit. So if you want to work on a relationship and actually become more authentic, just encourage your partner, and also be that genuine yourself, and see what's gonna happen. Because a lot of times we can just simply solve it, like talking constructively without insulting each other, without doing some crazy stuff like, I don't know, running away from the house, or like go and cheat with someone else. At least give it a chance and be open. And obviously if it doesn't work, you have to do something else. But we cannot just cut off people when we feel that they are manipulating, if we have some type of relationship with them. Like recently, me and my husband, we went to some party, and there was a guy who was like very opinionated about something, and he was like telling me stories, and I am automatically kind of nodding and I'm smiling at him, and my husband got a little bit like upset about it. And we discussed it, and I understood that he, like, you know, I didn't realize, but maybe I didn't behave the correct way. And next time I said like, I'll just put all my attention to you, my dear. And you know, I didn't even realize it made him a little bit concerned. So, but I was just trying to be someone who is listening to um, my guest, and I was just being friendly. But he said that he was annoyed actually, and he got a little bit jealous. But I wasn't trying to manipulate. So yeah, be aware of that. Be aware of that, and do the positive reinforcement once you make up, once that person did the right thing, like I don't know, kiss them on the cheek, or like verbalize it, say that I appreciate this and that. Because you know that experiment about Pavlov's dogs. So Pavlov got a Nobel Prize for the greatest thing. He got his Nobel Prize because, not because of his like nice beard and pretty eyes. He did it for actually that experiment showing us that if we show appreciation, if we are using positive reinforcement, it can actually change people behavior.